Adrian here. Welcome back to the channel, you guys, and welcome to another post-stream vlog for Bless Online for stream number 4. That's right, it's my 4th stream in 2 weeks for Bless Online. Yeah, I'm taking this ride. It's a fast ride, I'll admit that, and I'm recording this right after stream number 4, where everything's still fresh in my mind. So let's get straight into what I've been doing over the past week since last Sunday's stream. What I've been up to, what's changed, and just my general experience, because there's a couple of things now that I've seen from Bless, especially at my level, that it's worth pointing out in case, you folks are curious or still waiting eagerly to find out, whether or not the game gets better as you head on to, level cap. I'll share that with you guys. So first things first, I am level 38 as of tonight's stream. And in the past week, in the past vlog, I talked about how I was going about doing my leveling, which was grinding the first 2 dungeons until level 31, and then moving forward with the, the story and side quests and hunts and all that stuff. So this week, I tried to do more of that. So at 30, sharp at level 30, I stopped farming dungeons, even though people would say keep doing that until you reach 31 or 32 because you get all this blue gear. And there's a reason for that, because enhancing your gear is going to be something that you'll learn about, and that's how Bless Online makes players upgrade their gear to get better stats. And I'll talk about enhancing first. If any of you have played Black Desert Online, you are very, very familiar with this system. In BDO, through the content, you will get these things called black stones for both armor and for weapons that you would go to, your enhancing panel and upgrade your weapons and gear to get plus stats. You can go up from +1 to plus whatever, and then try pentat for BDO. For Blast, it's something similar. So once you have blue orbs, and you get these blue orbs through deconstructing gear. So if you get any dungeon blue drops or any green drops on from monsters in the world, be it armor or weapons, you can go to a gear dismantling station or deconstructing station, I think it's dismantling station, and put in those gear, and you will get in return some blue orbs. Now, depending on which region you play, people call them Dragon Ball, but in our region it's called something else. And these things are very important for upgrading your gear. These work as those black stones that BDO has. So you'd go to a gear enhancement station, and then you put your gear that you want to enhance, and then use those orbs to get your plus level. So +1 to +5 is risk free, so there's no issue of failing. And then from +5 onwards, there's going to be a risk of failing and enhance. And what happens when you fail? Well, your item's max durability could go down. And if you're at trying to enhance like a +6 and above, you could even lose 1 level. Sounds familiar, you guys? That is exactly what BDO does for gear upgrades as well. And my first thought about that, as soon as I saw that was in game, I'm like, couldn't they use a different system? But then again, with the games like these in Korea, it just seems like a lot of people or a lot of developers take BDO, almost a lot of systems in BDO, as sort of like the inspiration. It works for that game, so let's just put it in ours. And with Blast, I'm beginning to see a trend like that, where a lot of the systems do kind of follow BDO's method of doing things, from awakening horse abilities or mount abilities, and feeding pads and your mount stamina and how that works. There's a lot of things that screams BDO, and because I've recently played BDO and reviewed it in March, it's still fresh in my mind, and that's why I'm getting all these flashbacks to BDO. For those of you that never played Black Desert Online, you will not have this experience because you're jumping into Blast for the first time and everything's still new, so you may not get what I'm trying to compare it to here. It even has that thing that flashes across your screen, like this player has successfully enhanced this item to +10 levels, and +10 I think is pretty high for the current cap that we're in, so that's a thing as well. Another thing I unlocked is the ability to PvP now for RVR, and of course on your game menu panel there's going to be a war button that you can click, and you'll see the Peninsula Wars, the first thing there, and at level 30 you can already start signing up. Now, the entire week that I've been level 30, I could not join one because the timing of these things are unfortunately not in my favor, being somebody from Southeast Asia playing on a North American server. But how it works is there's going to be 3 times a day where players can queue for Peninsula War, and this is in my time zone. It is 6 a.m. in the morning, 11 a.m. in the morning, and 2 a.m. in the morning. So those are 3 windows where I have to catch one of these PvP matches within an hour in order to play in one. So unfortunately for me, 6 in the morning I'm asleep, 11 in the morning I'm working, and then 2 in the morning I'm asleep. So I wanted to do it on stream, but as soon as I found out that, you know, these things happen in a timed window, it's a no-go. So I'll have to do that. I'll have to make time to experience that RVR PvP so that I can talk about it for the review. The other thing that's been happening with regards to PvP is that now I'm high enough in terms of level to be questing alongside the main story and side quests in areas where it is disputed. So that means you'll be bumping into players of the other faction, and in my case the Hieron faction, because I am a Union player. So I have been bumping into a lot of Hieron players out in the landscape, especially towards the north side of Spezia, where I can't remember the region's name, but it's to the east of the Wyvern Valley, and in Wyvern Valley itself, that's where I've been questing at in the last 3 days. And yeah, I do bump into a lot of Hieron players, and the funny thing is, before tonight's stream, every time I pass by a Hieron player, we check each other out, see what level he is, or they'll see what level I am, and then we'll mutually just move on. Like, there's, especially if he's a solo player and I'm solo. But on stream tonight, I was right at the start of the game's 4th dungeon, which is Kobold's Hideout, and I was looking around, there's nobody there, so I thought, maybe I'll just swap channels and see if there's other Union players standing around that I can just pug a group with. I did that, and unfortunately, there was a bunch of Hieron players there, like 4 of them, and they're all level 45, and they just blew me to bits. So that was my first open world death when it came to PvP, and I did have those declarations of peace, which simply means when you toggle that, you get 10 minutes of, you know, nobody's going to attack you and you can attack nobody. I did have that in my inventory, especially for times when I just want to get the XP from the zone and move on, because it's either grindy as hell or it's boring, or, you know, that kind of thing. So I did have a bunch of that, but I didn't use it specifically to try and show off what ganking or what open world PvP was going to be like. I was expecting a 1v1 in, you know, that kind of situation, but unfortunately with this game, these things tend to happen. You will bump into a group of players who will gank you to death. So it was nice that I managed to get that on stream. As for the declaration of peace, if you guys want to primarily PvE and don't fancy being ganked all the time, then the store, the in-game cash shop, is not the only way to get these declarations of peace. Go to any town or any hub where they have the general merchandise vendor, I think that's what they're called. You can buy these for pretty cheap. So don't go into the store and buy the Lumina exclusive one, even though that has like a shorter cooldown or something like that. I can't remember. There's something about the store one that makes it better, but just the normal ones are fine, honestly. Trust me on that one. With regards to PvP, this past week as well, Newiz has put out more updates on their Steam news page, more patches and everything. And one of the things they're looking at is bringing in another PvP mode. It's called the Siege of Castra. Hang on, let me bring up Steam, because there's just so many new names and stuff that I'm trying to remember things off the cuff, and I'm failing terribly hard. I think it's called the Siege of Castra, though. Let me just check that for you real quick. Yep, Siege of Castra, that's going to be coming soon. 70 players from each faction, so that's 140 in total for this RVR. And again, if the timing is going to be a thing, then I have to probably like set an alarm or whatever to try and check these things out. But that kind of worries me a bit, because, you know, based on the server and optimization and everything in terms of lag, I don't even know how a 15v15 or 30v30 will look like. Can you imagine a 70v70 and what that might do for lag and stuff like that? So I'm really curious to see that. I mean, I could already go probably watch some emissaries or other people who have done that, streaming that. For me, I always just prefer jumping in myself and experiencing it, you know. So I will report back on everything PvP as soon as I've got the chance to experience it. Now, I brought up some patches and stuff there. Let's talk about that then. So if you look at Blast's Steam page, the amount of updates that they're cranking out is, even for me, very hard to catch up now. But here's what I'll point out. If you go to the Steam, you'll see they have a producer's letter out, which is good because it details what they've done and what they've recapped. So in the last week itself, loading screen fixes, quest tracker issue stuff, Berserker stance skill issue fix. Of course, we got that DPS nerf across the board. Game balance adjustments. What else we got? Changes to the chain bonus interruptions, which simply means that, you know, like dodging prior to this change, dodging, resistance, all that misses will all stop your chain. Now I think they've changed it to only misses will interrupt your chain attacks completely, and the others will still keep your chain. So that's kind of interesting. So dodge, resist, and immune are the only ones that miss is the only one that's going to break the chain. Everything else, dodge, resist, and immune, will not. So I like that change a lot. And there's just a whole bunch of things here. So in terms of what NeoWiz are trying to do now from their apology letter last week, it's a lot. And we'll have to see how much of these actually improves the game. The one area where I know they have improved is the early leveling experience, where things are brought down a little bit. So the XP rewards are better. The boss monsters, the landscape monsters for like level 15 and below have been adjusted so that new players coming in would have a more cohesive and fluid experience getting up to the first dungeon. They've also fixed localization stuff, as I talked about in the last vlog, so the new player experience now could be better. I've tried it. I've rolled a new Berserker to try the new leveling, and I think it flows way better than when I did for my mage and my paladin. Now, speaking of Berserkers, this is the interesting thing. Somebody gave me a tip on stream 2 or stream 3 about Berserkers having the better combat system for Bless Online in the entire game. And that got me curious because it's action combat. So I rolled a Berserker, and true enough, the Berserkers have the reticle in the middle of the screen, and you aim that like you would any other action MMO, and then you just fire your skills. And the thing about Berserkers is a lot of their skills are AoE as well, being a primarily DPS class, so you have a lot of AoE damage. And I got to admit, the first half an hour of playing the Berserker all the way up to like level 10 or whatever, it was so good. That combat system made me go, wow, I should have rolled a Berserker, because that actually feels really, really fun. It's more fluid. Your chains don't feel clunky, especially when, like for me, Paladin, I'm always tap targeting, and sometimes I miss, and then I gotta click on the target or whatever. And even if I'm looking at an enemy, but my tap target lock is on somebody on this side of the screen, you know, it just feels clunky that way, because, like for me, how I like to play, so I'm always looking at the next enemy, and you know, I just have a certain style of playing that I would say suits the combat system that the Berserker has. It's very action oriented. So I really enjoyed that about the Berserker, and one of the feedback that I've seen so much is a lot of people would like to see action combat, that reticle mode, be included for all classes across the board. Now I can see this working for other classes too, and it's just a matter of how much can they do, will they do it, and if they do, then make it a toggle thing, you know, so that people that prefer tab can use tab targeting, and people that prefer action can toggle it to use action combat. But so far from what I've experienced, the Berserker combat is really, really fun, but I'm so far into my Paladin that I do not want to restart on my Berserker. So I'm just going to leave it at that. For those of you that have never tried the Berserker class yet, I would highly recommend it, because that feels very actiony, you know. And when you think of Asian MMOs with action combat, Berserker's got it here in Bless Online. Every other class is just your usual tap targeting. Last but not least, let's talk about the questing experience then, since I have now left the whole dungeon grind and move on to just the basic moving from zone to zone, your quest hub crawl essentially. And like I said in the last vlog, the preferred method by a lot of people is to grind dungeons till 31 and move on. That's what I did, and now I'm showing off the other side of things. Can I quest in an area where I'm following the main quest chain, picking up side quests, and doing the first tier of hunt quests? Will that be sufficient enough to take me all the way up to cap? So far, from 30 all the way up to like 38, the answer is yes. And to be very frank, it actually feels like a cohesive MMO during these levels, because it's what you naturally expect to do. As I follow a main story, it takes me to a new area of the map. I unlock all these side quests in the area. I'll just pick all of that up and go kill or fetch, or you know, do the objectives of the side quests. And in those areas, you will have a variety of different monsters that when you kill for the first time, you unlock the hunt quest. So what I did is I naturally would kill everything I see, do the quest, turn them in, and while it's slower, because without a group and if you're playing solo, it's going to take time to kill 17 of one monster to finish tier 1 and 17 of another, depending on what kind of monster that is. And in addition to that, you will find elite mobs on the landscape, which has those boss health bars, and once you kill one, you'll see that you kill another one, and that completes the hunt for a decent amount of XP, in addition to a chance of dropping weapons and, you know, that kind of thing. So that's what I've been doing. And like I said, it feels more cohesive, and I actually enjoy this experience. The whole cohesive quest hub crawl. The experience itself, I'm like, yeah, sure, it's slower than people who are getting in huge parties and just farming a lot of the hunts with their big party buffs. I am probably slower compared to people who are doing that. But I prefer this experience because not only do I get to do it on my pace and my terms, I also get to soak in a little bit of the zone story, which now at where I'm at, going through northern Spezia into the mountainy area where you meet the barbarians for the first time, and then going west to the wyvern area. The story, the zone story, makes sense with the main story, which to be fair is also picking up. I think it's very, very obvious and clear in Stream 1 and 2 and Vlogs 1 and 2 that I cared nothing for the early story because of the way it was introduced to you, because of how the setting and exposition, for a new player list, it just makes it so hard for you to absorb. Like, you just don't care how it's presented. Now, when you're kind of forced through it, when you stick with it, it's slowly starting to pay off. I now understand a little bit more about the politics of the Union Federation, and the big reveal, obviously, that Don Chico dude is, somebody important, a council member, and his son is the one that's kind of betraying everybody. And there's this rogue mage that's trying to revive a Black Tower curse to bring more demons or whatever. I mean, the story's getting good up to a point where I am able to recall that. So that in itself is a good sign, because if I didn't care about the story, because I'm a big story guy, I wouldn't have been able to give you a proper summary. As for the zone stories itself, it will be fetch, it will be kill. That is, unfortunately, will never change. There's nothing here to try and diversify the questing monotony with some cool and fun features. Some of the things that I can recall off the cuff is like there's going to be escort quests for dogs, cats, goats, cows. So that's your Farmville experience there. Other than that, you just click additional items. So when you kill a monster, for example, a side quest could say harvest its blood, so you'll get an additional pop-up in your G key to harvest the blood. So it's just additional things in addition to fetch and kill quests, but nothing out of the ordinary to kind of make you perk up and be excited about doing these side quests. So while I'm doing it primarily for the XP, because in my head I'm like, gotta get to cap, gotta get to cap, gotta get to cap, that's my mantra, at least the story is decent enough for me to buy into why I'm doing it. I'll give Bless the credit there. So the barbarians, they kind of took it upon themselves to defend themselves from threats, and the Imperial side, which is the Hieron side, are now attacking or whatever, and they're also aware of the threat, which is this mage trying to revive or have revived this Black Tower. So now they're coming down from the mountains to try and help in this war and everything. So I found that pretty interesting. And where I'm at in the story now, we're moving on to Wyvern Valley, where both the Federation and these native people of Atlanta are kind of banding together to stop this threat once and for all. So that's where I'm at with the story. And like I said, it's decent. What I'm doing in between is just experience points, picking up all the side quests. As for the hunting quests, these are probably the worst in terms of excitement and fun, because you're just killing monsters over and over again for the XP, but I still do them because it's good XP. So that is, in a nutshell, my experience in Bless Online this past week. But like I said, there's a lot of things that these that NeoWiz has put out here on their Steam page, especially with their producer's letter and what they have in store, like under work in progress, correcting script translations. There's a whole bunch of things in here that I'm not going to read out, so I'm going to leave a link to this in the description box below so you can see for yourselves what NeoWiz are up to. But what they've done so far, I'm going to highlight the early leveling experience. The way they changed that is it flows much better, and when I combined that with rolling in Berserker to check out the action combat, it just felt right. But make no mistake, there's a lot of things this game needs to fix. Even right now at 38, I'm in Wyvern Valley, where I'm still getting quest bugs, like quest objectives not appearing, NPCs going missing. I picked up one quest that's still in my tracker, and I can't get rid of it. It's just stuck there. Like, what happened to the quest? What happened to everything? So I'm still getting issues like that. Optimization is still a thing, even with OpenGL, even with INI fixes. That's still there. I still get stutters, even though my FPS in towns have been boosted by doing that. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to get off my chest right after the stream tonight. And if I missed anything, I will probably add that in next week's vlog. Anyway, again, guys, thank you guys so much for jumping into tonight's stream. It was a chill stream. I didn't want to do too much, and of course, you guys came in there, shared your opinions, and I read them all out, which is what I usually do, so I do appreciate the company, as usual. I'm very close to 45 as well, and I've already talked to my guild that we would get at least a guild run or something on stream. So I think I've rambled on long enough. I'm going to cut this vlog here. So yeah, if you're new here, hit the like button for more MMO content. I'm covering Bless until I hit level cap, and then a review will come out. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for all kinds of MMO content, though I play more than one game, I assure you on that front. And yeah, that's it. Feel free to share your opinions in the comment section below if you guys have been playing Bless and want to share your thoughts, or you want to argue with me, or all that good stuff. I leave it all in there, so go, go, go. And that's it. Once again, I'm Jeremy Adrian here, and I thank you guys for watching. Roses are red, violets are blue. If you want to watch more videos, click on these cards. Anyone would do. And if you want to watch more videos, subscribe to the channel with the button down here. I know you want to.